Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 4162. Today's date is July 19, 2026. It's been almost like night at 10:20 p.m. Since this morning, I am feel little bit of kind of like sick. It's not really sick. It's like that. He not kind of it doesn't feel like that. I'm fully um charge. Okay, something kind of like a bothering me, and I'm not really sure what exactly that. But by the way, I kind of like take a really good care of my health. I did went to run. I i run like a 20 minute, like a last 10 minute I cannot able to be run. It's like so much, like I don't know, I just it, like basically while in between running now, I just wanted to just like lay down, and like I just wanted to just like stop. It's not really I'm tired. It's like that key. I don't know how I supposed to explain this thing when I am like a sick. Very sweet. Wait. Okay. Okay. Since this morning I also getting a lot of sneeze too. Okay. So that's why I'm kind of like how little bit of cold. Also my voice is kind of like a sound little bit different. Okay. uh so yeah. I usually never really get that much sick. Okay, and it's not really too much sick. It's just kind of like that. Like I usually kind of like a believe that ki, I don't really believe that I would kind of like get sick and things and that. So yeah, just keep doing my stuff. All right, so let's just jump into the question. Let's go. All right, so question is, what does success look like after a 10 year? Oh, that's a really good question. Okay, first of all, what exactly is this question, and why am I asking this question to myself? Um, I wanted to build a artificial intelligence AI that could predict the future. Okay, I called name as Adam. Um, before I want, why you wanted to build this kind of like AI that could predict the future? Because I can. At least I think I can. I'm not really sure, but I think I can make such a AI that could predict the future. How you so sure about that? Kind of like a you think you can, and you are kind of like a thinking that you will kind of like a build such a AI that could predict the future. uh okay. Okay, I'm kind of like a giving you example. Okay, life is just like a kind of like a restaurant. Okay. um like if you went to the restaurant, and if you want any kind of like a food, you just said, okay, yeah, like basically is this thing that key, I need this food, I need that food, that food. Imagine life is a kind of like a restaurant, and the god or universe is a kind of like a, is kind of like a simply a waiter. Okay, now whatever you want, whatever the cuisine or whatever it is, from basic to kind of like a continental cuisine, whatever you want, it kind of like a provide to you. In return you have to give them money. That's it. Okay, so basically is this thing, the most of the people, so instead of money, it kind of like a sorry, in return life wants effort. Okay, like basically if you want to eat a kind of like a continental cuisine, the life want, the waiter, the god or universe want that key, like this much amount of effort. Okay, so imagine as a kind of like a simply effort from 1 to 100. Okay, now if you want kind of like a something dal khichdi, dal khichdi is a kind of like a basic meal. Okay, so if you want dal khichdi, then the waiter ask you like a basically 1 or 2 unit of effort. Okay, that's it. But if you want a kind of like a something continental cuisine, okay, the waiter wants you that key maybe kind of like a 70 to 80 unit of effort. So this is what it is. It's kind of like that na ki most of the people are kind of like a buy such a food regarding about what they could afford. Okay, but I am buying such a stuff is because of that I want to provide that much amount of effort, not because of I want kind of like a continental cuisine. Like basically this thing, I am kind of like a get really happy when I'm giving effort to the waiter. Most of the people are kind of like a getting really happy when they are getting food. But for me, food is just nothing really at all. It just, yeah, like I kind of like a really excited to provide effort and things and that and that. Okay, because that effort make me the person that I am greater than everything and that and that. Okay, if you understand this kind of like a terminology, na, you understand the entire life. So do I understand this thing? Somewhat something I understand. Okay, so that's why I'm kind of like actually thinking about such a ambitious project that key I wanted to build such a AI that could predict the future. Obviously, it's not a kind of like a things that key everyone kind of like a think like that way, and no, like almost no one is actually thinking like that way. Like if there is kind of like a someone thinking, then might be these are kind of like exist, but no, these are not exist. Okay, so yeah, basically it's just saying that na ki yes, I am kind of like a simply want a such a cuisine, a kind of like a such a AI that could predict the future, and for that particular purpose, a waiter wants me a kind of like 100 unit of effort. I will provide 100 or 200 unit of effort, because the value that I get, not from the kind of like something the product that I make, the value that I get from the effort that I put, and from that effort I became much more bigger, better, I don't know, better than today and things and that and that. And most of people are not like most of people are not kind of like a putting that much amount of courage to kind of like a something that they will ask such a thing to the universe. That no, usually most of the people, almost like a 95% of the people are just asked to the waiter, they just want a kind of like a dal khichdi, that's it. Okay, why? Because they just that because they think that they just only they could afford like that, but they don't know they could afford like a continental cuisine, they could afford everything at their. It's kind of like a thing is whatever you want, just ask. Okay, whatever. Oh yeah, if I'm trying to talk about this particular stuff now, it just doesn't really make sense at all. Whatever, let's talk about kind of like a something that key. The question. Okay, so I wanted to build such a AI that could predict the future. Okay, before I wanted to build this application, or before I wanted to build this kind of like a AI, I wanted to aware of all the possible consequences. Okay, I went to ChatGPT. I tell my app idea, tell my idea, chat, and also tell him that he suggests me hundreds of all the possible consequences in question format if I build such a AI. ChatGPT kind of like suggests me hundreds of all the possible consequences. This is one of those consequences in question format. This is one of those question. Now regarding about this question, the question says that after you build such a AI that could predict the future, Adam, after you kind of like build the Adam, after 10 year, what will gonna happen? What this kind of like a AI can do to the humanity? Well, so much, so much. Within a 10 year, I don't know. There is a one thing I realized something regarding about the um, growth and how many people are kind of like a, okay, let's just say kind of like a uh, growth and change. Okay, let's imagine a kind of like a graph. Okay, yeah. In a x-axis, that is a growth. In a y-axis, that is a change. Okay, yeah. So you imagine this thing. Okay, so basically is this thing that key from, like, let's just say since the kind of like a 4,000 year ago. Okay, like a basically human kind of like a existence is actually kind of like a started from 4,000 year ago. Before that, I'm not counting that thing. Like before that, whatever the growth is nothing really at all. Okay, let's imagine from 4,000 year ago. Okay, so 4,000 year ago till now. Okay, so this is a kind of like an entire timeline. Now in this timeline, let's try to kind of like assembly uh, understand the changes. Okay, like how much kind of like humans are change the way that they live and things and that and that. So if you kind of like think that na, let's imagine a kind of like a 1 out of maybe kind of like 100. Okay, so from 4,000 year ago to 1800. Okay, 1800, there is a nothing really change happened. Okay, like basically the changes actually happened from 0 to maybe 20, or maybe kind of like a, yeah, just 20. Okay, yeah, like for the 4,000 year, or maybe if I'm kind of like started from the evolution of humans and things and that. So before the industrial revolution, we kind of like a growth, or maybe kind of like a growth or change actually happened only 20%. Only 20%. Okay, and almost like a 200 year ago, when the industrial revolution actually happened, the growth are kind of like a rapidly change. Okay, yeah. So basically within a kind of like a 200 to like a basically like a let's just say kind of like a 1800. Okay, 1800. Okay, so 1800 to 2020. Okay, so let's imagine 1800 to 2020. So in this particular timeline, means within almost like a 200 year, within a 200 year, we achieve 20% growth to almost like a, 50% growth, or maybe 60% growth. Okay, yeah, till 2020. Okay, yeah, till 2022. Okay, yeah. And since the chat GPT or AI, no, sorry, I'm kind of like somebody add a little bit changes. Okay, yeah. So industrial revolution, I'm kind of like a distribute a kind of like a timeline in kind of like a different zone, so that you might gonna understand. So when the industrial revolution happened, industrial revolution to kind of like a world war. Okay, yeah. I'm counting kind of like industrial revolution to world war. Growth actually kind of like a increasingly happened. Okay, let's just say in the industrial revolution to the world war, 20% to 30%. Okay, yeah. Now when the world war actually started, okay, yeah, the growth rapidly increased. Okay, why does kind of like a, why the world war should supposed to be like, how does growth will gonna happen in the world war? Well, technically, yeah, like basically is this thing because of the world war, World War One, World War Two, and Cold War. Because of this thing, humans are kind of like a force to innovate much more thing. Okay, and in this particular era, we kind of like invent lot of kind of like weapons and things, and kind of like a industrial mechanism and things and that. Obviously humans does not grow in that particular period. Like a lot of humans are actually die in this particular era, but the technology actually improve a lot, like so much improve. Okay, yeah. World War Two is a kind of like a became a reason that kind of like a something World War One, World War Two, then kind of like a something the Apollo missions. Okay, till the Cold War, like these are kind of like a wars are kind of like a improve our thing. Okay, so I'm kind of like a counting that key since the World War, like from 1914. Okay, 1914. Yeah, 1914 to 1991. Okay, yeah. till the kind of like a simply all the wars will actually collapse and things and that and that. So yeah, so 1940 to 1991 USSR collapse. So growth actually happened from 30 to 50. Okay, entire humanity 30 to 50. Now after the 1991, the internet boom has actually happened. Okay, dot-com bubble. Okay, and when the dot-com bubble actually kind of like explode, it is kind of like a too much actually happened. So the dot-com bubble is actually started from maybe kind of like a 1990 1991. Okay, yeah, 1991 to kind of like a maybe let's just say 2020. Okay, 2020, because internet and things and that and that. So because of dot-com bubble, because of internet, the where we were like we are growth are almost like a 50, but because of the internet bubble and things and that, so it's expand, we arrive at 70. Okay, we arrive at 70. Okay, yeah. I'm counting as a COVID plus till 2022 ChatGPT. Okay, yeah. Now since the ChatGPT actually established to now 2026, so within a 4 year we achieve from 70 to 100. So do you understand things? The so much amount of time required to reach 20%, the initial, and after the kind of like a growth actually happened, the growth actually happened so fast with respect to time. Okay, yeah, so fast. Okay, yeah. And because and like basically can you like basically just imagine na? Like the from World War I to collapse of USSR. Okay, like almost like a 1914 to 1991. Okay, yeah, it takes almost like an entire kind of like a century. Okay, yeah, and within a century we achieve almost like a 20% growth. Okay, 20-25% growth, whatever. Okay, yeah. Since the dot-com bubble actually happened, from 1991 probably. Okay, yeah, 1991 to let's say kind of like a 2022. So probably almost like a 30 year. Okay, yeah. So within a 30 year we achieve another 20% growth. So basically before that we are kind of like a spending almost like a 80 year for kind of like a getting 20% growth, but same growth we get within a 30 year because of dot-com bubble. Okay, because of dot-com bubble, because of internet and things like that. Now since the AI actually happened, okay, yeah, just 4 year na, like basically just 2020 2022 the AI kind of like a launch, ChatGPT actually launched, and within that we actually growth from 70 to 100%. Okay, yeah, and this is actually happened within a 4 year. Within a 4 year, like do you understand the time? So basically what I realized that, okay, in the future we are growing so much faster that people will be so much illiterate regarding about new technology. Let me tell you something. I still remember when I was in 10th standard, I have a kind of like a computer. Sorry, I have a kind of like a something subject called computer science. Okay, yeah, and I have a book. Okay, by the way, it's a very optional subject. Okay, but still I have that particular subject. It's a very optional. Okay, like it's not like kind of like a conduct the exam and things and that. But because of kind of like a something the like a basically it's a 20. It's a kind of like a something. It's not a kind. It's not a kind of like it's an exam, but it's not a kind of like a mathematic exam or kind of like that much important. No, it's just a kind of like an optional subject that the kind of like a teachers are or schools are kind of like a teaching them. They kind of like have textbooks and things and that. So in that book they teach me regarding about, not teach me, they have kind of like in that book they teach me the floppy disk. Okay, yeah, in 2009 maybe, yeah, because when in 10th I was in 2009. Okay, yeah, so floppy disk, and I haven't really seen the floppy. I seen the floppy disk, but I never really use the floppy disk. Nothing really at all. Okay, so do you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying is that na, ki, since the growth is actually happening so fast that people need to kind of like a adopt the growth, if they can't adopt or literate the new technology, they will fall behind. So that's why so many people are kind of like so many there is every YouTuber or every kind of like a particular person kind of like say this thing, learn AI. Okay, because it's a new technology, dude. Okay, I seen a lot of people. Okay, let's take a kind of like example. My mother cannot able to be do anything at all in mobile phone, nothing really at all. She just know click here to call, click here to YouTube, click here to WhatsApp, that's it. Okay, yeah, she doesn't really know anything. If she kind of like went into the setting, she just confused and she kind of like put the phone aside. She might think that ki phone might get broke, literally. If she kind of like accidentally touch the setting button. Okay, so she is that much scared. Okay, now okay, like fine, my mother is a kind of like a little bit old and things and that she haven't really kind of like used the phone, she haven't really seen the phone in her entire period of lifetime, so she don't know anything at all, so I'm kind of like acceptable. But there are so many amount of people like my age of people who doesn't use any kind of like a AI, doesn't know any kind of like a AI. They have AI, they know that, but they kind of like think that what do I supposed to do with the AI? Like basically they just kind of like scrolling through Instagram every single day, but they just, yeah, they have a ChatGPT install. What they do, they just whenever they have time, I don't know, they just don't use anything at all, nothing really at all. Okay, so what I realized that people are kind of like not literate about the growth, and the people who are kind of like a fall behind, they always been fall behind because the growth are actually happen so much because AI just started, and within a 4 year we achieve almost like a 30% of growth from 70 to 100. Okay, 70 to 100. And AI could do so much things, so many things. It just started now, and AI could like the basically like just like the internet, the dot-com bubble actually happened. Because of the dot-com bubble, the new companies are actually established like Amazon, Facebook, Meta. These are kind of like some companies are kind of like established by the internet. They are not selling any product, they are kind of like selling services or things and that. And because of this thing, they are kind of like earning trillions amount of monies and things and that. So traditional kind of like running a business is change. Usually people consider as a kind of like selling a product is a business, but right now since the internet came, people are kind of like selling stuff online and things and that. And since the AI came, it's been kind of like so kind of like this stuff that just overwhelmed. What not you could do with the AI, you can do so many things, and it just started by now. Okay, now if I'm kind of like imagine in the future, things might be so fast, the growth will kind of like happen so fast, and the very less amount of people who are kind of like understand that growth, because they are kind of like a knowing, learning kind of like a things and that. But so many people are not understanding growth because of they are not literate about the any kind of like some stuff. Now let's talk about the kind of like a things that key, this is a kind of like a somebody, yeah. Now predictable kind of like a predictable AI models like now I'm kind of like I will gonna kind of like build such a AI that could predict the future. And obviously I will not be the only one who could kind of like build such a AI that could predict the future. Obviously other players will be kind of like build such a AI that could predict the future. Okay, yeah, like basically it's not me, it's like if I build like a basically I will kind of like start this thing like basically just like a ChatGPT kind of like started as a AI. Then after that so many kind of like AI company are kind of like started like a Gemini and kind of like Anthropic and things and that. Okay, so obviously when I will build a kind of like a model, a prediction model that could predict the kind of like a possible future and things and that, other companies, other player are also kind of like build such AI that could predict the future. Okay, yeah. Now what will gonna happen after 10 year? Okay, yeah. So let's imagine that key within a 10 year they have kind of like so many kind of like AIs are available like a my AI, Adam, other players AI will be there that could predict the kind of like a consequences and things and that and that and that. Okay, so it could kind of like shape the entire world. The growth, like a basically is this thing, the AI takes 4 year to kind of like a get growth. The prediction model when it kind of like establish after the 10 year, oh my god, if within a 10 year you might get growth almost like a 200% or 300%. Literally within a decade, 300% of growth that you haven't really get the entire growth in entire lifetime of human existence, and you are getting that growth within a kind of like a 10 year. Okay, and that is a power of prediction model, because prediction model is a kind of like a something next phase, like a basically as I mentioned that na ki World War One to kind of like a World War One to kind of like a fall of USSR. Okay, this is the phase. Then dot com bubble to AI, then AI to prediction model. Okay, and when the prediction model actually came, boy oh boy, the world that we might gonna see is so changed that it just like basically this thing now every process, everything actually happened. It just like that na ki it just done. Like basically this thing government kind of like became so smooth. Okay, there might be a problem. Obviously, is this thing in the government there might be a problem. Kind of like a prediction model, Adam or rest of the other models will kind of like try to figure it out and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. Whatever the problem that humans has, they are kind of like solving this. The process kind of like a much more faster and things and that. It is not because of the kind of like a prediction model are kind of like a much more better at doing their things. No, it is because of that key people thought process change. What do you mean by that? So basically this thing, right now people have kind of like a something very bias review regarding about AI. Like some people have kind of like an exact opposite thought process regarding about AI. Like basically some people are really enthusiastic, like I'm really enthusiastic regarding about AI things and that, but some people are completely opposite. They think that ki no, AI will kind of like take the job and things and that and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, whatnot. Okay, but basically when the kind of like a prediction model came maybe kind of like after maybe 10 year. Okay, 10 year means like that ki right now 2026 maybe kind of like a somebody 2040. Okay, till 2040 we might have kind of like somebody such a AI, like a basically I will kind of like build a such a AI that could predict the future. So in that scenario, the people who are kind of like a thing that ki the AI is a kind of like a evil and things and that, their thought process change and they are kind of like a consuming AI more. They're learning AI more. It's a kind of like a thing is that na ki the Amazon company is a kind of like a somebody established so much because of that ki they are the early movers. Okay, yeah. They understand the power of .com bubble and that's why they are kind of like a so much powerful company right now. Okay, yeah. I also wanted to kind of like establish Adam for that particular purpose, and within a 10 year there are so many kind of like a player will be like a prediction AI and things and that, and because of there is so many amount of players that could predict the future and things and that, the people thought process change. People are kind of like using AI much more widely, vividly. Okay, things and that. There are so many things actually happened. I try to imagine things, but like basically this thing na, it's not a kind of like a futuristic version, but it's a kind of like a thing that na ki like it will not gonna happen that ki kind of like a flying cars and things and that. By the way, we might have kind of like a cars that could fly. Okay, yeah, but it's not kind of like every car is kind of like a flying. No, nothing really at all. But kind of like a whatever the kind of like a problem that world has, the prediction model is a kind of like a try to fix that thing. The system, like a basically important thing is that system, like a government institution are kind of like a required a kind of like a system, because a prediction model kind of like a predict the future possible consequences. So they could kind of like a predict much more better system so that it would kind of like a cater and serve their citizen much more well in every possible scenario and things and that. Okay, yeah, because the system is a kind of like a created by the prediction model. Okay, so this might gonna happen. Okay, yeah. Not only just a kind of like a government institution, but everything. Okay, yeah. Like everything, like a companies and kind of like a personally people are kind of like utilizing and things and that and that. Like I don't know how I supposed to explain the humanity change. Okay, yeah. Like let me tell you one thing. In my father's time, okay, usually successful people consider as a the particular person who has a kind of like a farm, or particular person who has a kind of like a farmer, considered as a kind of like a successful person. But right now this thought process change. If I'm say I'm farmer, people might gonna consider you are kind of like a somebody that ki like a pathetic or not earning any money. Like a basically at that time, like a basically my father kind of like a told me that ki in my father's era, when my father is kind of like a young and things and that kind of like a doing a job or government job consider as a kind of like a somebody very low wage kind of like a things. Okay, yeah. At that time farmer considered as kind of like a successful. But right now shift change. Okay, yeah. Now farmer does not like a being a farmer does not consider as a kind of like a somebody that much thing. Like I'm talking about average point of perspective. I'm not saying that ki every farmer is a kind of like a somebody not earning that much amount of money, but still I'm kind of like a telling of average point of perspective. If I'm gonna say farmer, I will not gonna get any no one kind of like a give me a kind of like a somebody woman for married and things and that and that. But if I'm gonna say I am a kind of like a somebody government officer, I am a kind of like a bank PO in SBI, then okay, yeah, then every father is kind of like a hand in their daughter to me and say this thing, marry my daughter and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. And in the future things might get changed. Like basically in the future, like basically is this thing that ki people will kind of like assembly hand in their daughter to such a thing that ki the are you are kind of like a chairman of particular company or not, are you kind of like establish a kind of like a company or not, or are you just employee. Okay, yeah. Like basically the stand of normal is kind of like a change. Like basically in my father age, stand of normal is a kind of like a having a farm. Okay, in my age having a job is considered as a normal. In the future kind of like a chairman of particular company considered as a kind of like a normal and things and that. Like basically humanity will gonna change. Like basic there are so many things will gonna happen regarding about transportation, regarding about the government system, regarding about hospital, healthcare, education. So many change. Like a prediction model can kind of like a predict every possible scenario regarding about what will gonna happen and try to kind of like a make mistake before it kind of like a try to make mistake before the real mistake, right? So yeah, this will kind of like happen. Okay, and this is actually happened within a 10 year, and after the 10 year, oh my god, I'm not really sure. The future might kind of like a look in such a way that like sometimes na, I just realize, okay, yeah, that key what will be the future. Like basically if the growth is actually happening so fast, then like like basically is this thing, the nature has a kind of like a law that everything has its end at something. So growth will gonna end at sometimes. What about the humanity? Like a what do you think after thousands of year, or let's just say 1,000 year? Let's just say, let's imagine 3026. Okay, yeah. Like imagine a kind of like a 19th of July 3026, almost like a thousands of year ago. Can you imagine what will gonna happen after thousands of year? Well, after thousands of year, what will gonna happen? Population will too much. Okay, on the planet Earth. What do you mean? Like yeah, like this will gonna happen. Like basically this thing that na ki till the end of this century, population will kind of like a decline. Okay, yeah. But because of the prediction model and things and that, humanity have a kind of like always have tried to solve the problem. And basically the population problem is also solved by the kind of like a prediction model, and from that thing population will kind of like improve because the growth is actually come from the people having more growth. So usually every country are kind of like a wants their kind of like a people should supposed to be have more, because population is a kind of like a strength of the country, which is true by the way. So population will kind of like a increase. Okay, yeah. We might have kind of like a some sort of amount of colonies in a space maybe. Okay, not in another planet, okay, but maybe a kind of like a some ship where kind of like a, some sort of humanity might gonna live. But I am not like agree with this thing, because of that na, entire humanity is kind of like a meant to be survive on planet earth. If they are kind of like a living in space or another planet, they will not consider as a kind of like a human, they will consider as a kind of like a something else. Why? Because evolution. Okay, yeah, like basically is this thing that we could able to be walk on two leg is not because of that key, kind of like simply we could walk because of the gravity actually exists, and from that gravity we could kind of like a walk and things and that. If the people are kind of like a started living in a space, then yeah, but still in the kind of like a whatever the kind of like a spaceship that we have, we kind of like build such a spaceship that could kind of like a create artificial gravity by kind of like some centripetal force and things and that, which might gonna happen. Okay, yeah, but still most of the population will kind of like stay on planet, and couple of cluster of people will kind of like stay in different planets and things and that. Okay, yeah. After thousands of year, um things might be so much change, like a like so much change. Okay, in that period of time, AI and everything, it's just the like basically the right now technology that we are using. Thousands of years ago, those are technology are just like inside in their mind. Okay, yeah, like literally just like that. Their AI is actually kind of like a inside in their memory, like a probably cyberpunk, okay, game probably like that. Like a chip is actually inside their brain and things they could access the internet anywhere that they want and things and that. Okay, yeah, so that they could kind of like enhance their body capability and things and that probably something like that. Okay, um another thing is that ki obviously I'm gonna say after thousands of year the flying cars would be the real. Okay, yeah, there might be a kind of like a no roads. Okay, like whatever the kind of like a things that they have, they just fly, hoverboard or flying cars or things and that. Okay, uh cities will not like basically if you think that the cities might look dense, but no, cities might not look that much dense. Okay, yeah, cities might be look very much beautiful. Okay, yeah, um it's not really that he kind of like a some this thing a cyberpunk city where kind of like a things just kind of like a look very wrong. No, the planet has look like a really beautiful. The global warming will is not that much. Okay, yeah, not worry about that. We kind of like assembly we humanity are kind of like assembly, um like learn with the kind of like a fuel. We kind of like a establish such a fuel that could kind of like assembly have a lot of amount of power. Like we might understand the kind of like a dark matter or dark energy maybe in the thousands of year. Okay, yeah, also a lot of stuff. Okay, yeah, and yeah, like basically is this in if I'm kind of like a thinking about that particular stuff na, I can't think. I try to think but I can't think because it's a way much further ahead. But there is a one thing that I want to tell, that I think I'm not really sure. The growth is actually we are experiencing. Maybe this is a kind of like a reason that humanity will die, I think, because of that na ki like basically is this thing now we might think that ki we might kind of like survive for millions of year, but I don't think so. We might not able to be survive for at least like a million of year, not millions, not like like humanity just survive maybe couple of thousands of year, and then after that there is no kind of like a humans probably. I'm not really sure, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, I don't know. Okay, yeah, like that growth will kind of like a stop at somewhere, and that growth stop by somewhere at like basically is this thing the threat from human is not come from kind of like alien or natural calamities or things like that. No, the biggest threat for human is human. That is true. Okay, yeah, so so the humans will die is not because of Another thing is humans that should die because of the humans. Yeah, because we are humans. So yeah, I think whatever. This is kind of like a far away ahead. Whatever. But the question is that ki, after I build such a model that could predict the future, what will gonna happen? What will gonna happen after 10 years? So much, so much. So many things. Okay. So this is it. I have to end here. Thank you.